Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Abok, the founder of Kidaftari. Today, I'm going to cover my third episode, and this is going to revolve around assets being the center of all businesses. So, how important are assets to a business? So that will be the topic of today's lesson. So, at the center, we have assets. So on the right, we have owners. You can also call them capital. And we have lenders, such as bank. You can also call them liability. So liability is not necessarily a bad thing, just another source of assets. On this other side, you have market. And you have, use another color. So then you have operations. So when a business starts, the assets are zero. So let's assume the business owner, the assets are zero. So my question to you would be, can a business operate without assets? And the obvious answer would be no. You cannot operate without assets. So what happens? The business has to have assets to start. So the owners contribute assets. So say the owners contribute assets worth 2 million. The owners feel like this is not enough, so they go to lenders and get more assets. So the lenders also contribute 1 million. As you see the arrow, so the owners contribute value, and the value ends up, so the value came from the owners, was 2 million to the assets. The next step, the value moved from lenders, worth 1 million, and ended up as assets. So meaning we now have our total assets as we start the business, 3 million. So with 3 million, with the owners feel this is enough to start the operations of the business. So what happens at the operations? So operations, depending on the type of business, if it's manufacturing, they're going to transform assets to a certain form. So once they have converted these assets to a certain given form, then they're going also to make sales from these assets. So operations generally consume assets. So whether they're transforming, so there's consumption and transformation and operations. So generally assets are going to reduce as the business operates. So the quality of the operations are measured by the market. So I'm going to do green for the market. So the quality of the operations here are measured by the market. So say for a given month, operations used up 0.5 million worth of assets. So now we have 2.5 million. So the operations have taken up 0.5 million worth of assets. They have consumed 0.5 million worth of assets. And the market rewards the operations by giving us back 0.6 million. In this case, we have ended up after operations here. After So post operations, we now have 3 million minus the 0.5 that was consumed plus 0.6 being the reward, or being the perception of how the market sees the business operations, and we've ended up with 3.1 million as the value of the assets at the end of the month. So this closely tells you what happens in what a profit and loss really shows. So profit really is how much the market values the operations being carried out by the business. So I'll cover this better in another episode. So for me here was to really concentrate, or really to really push for the aspect that assets are ideally or ultimately at the center of every operations in a business. So this is really I felt like this was really key for me to show, and also it will be, as you note the arrow movements and the value movements, it will be key in later episodes as I cover also debit and credit. When we built Kidaftari, we wanted every operational activity to ultimately tell us what was happening to the assets and value within the business. So that really marks the end of my third episode, and I'm hoping to see you in the next one. Thank you and goodbye.